How is everybody out there in YouTube and Facebook land? This is Rick Brown. It's 3 o'clock on Friday, so it's time for Rick Brown Live. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today's going to be a great show. I've been looking forward to this one since I had Ricky on. It's been a few weeks ago. Today, I'm going to have Ricky Bowersock on with me, and we are going to talk about our top 10 80s and 90s cartoons. And let me tell you, this was hard. This was really hard. So let me tell you about Ricky real quick. He's been on before. Unfortunately, he was on when all my internet issues were going crazy, and it was a very frustrating show. So now he is going to be back with us. Ricky is the worship pastor at Ovid Community Church, which is where I go and play in the band. And he's just a great dude, and he's such a fun guy, and I love having him on the show. So here he is. Oh, one other thing. Ricky is driving right now.
Well, he's not driving.
Well, he's not driving.
He's driving.
Yes, but I should clarify that. He is riding in a car because he is buying a car right now.
Yeah.
And he is, it's kind of a last minute thing. So
you could say that.
So tell us about this. What are you doing here?
So I have a 1990 Nissan 300ZX. I've had it for a long time. I've had one since about 2005. I bought my first one, and I wrecked that one. And then the 2 days later, after I got insurance payout, went and bought a second one. But the second one was kind of one of those things that, like, well, I'll just redo it. But I also forgot I was getting married 3 months later, and well, you know how that works. So,
right.
All of the money you thought you had, you really don't. You don't have that. So,
right.
The car was in fine condition, but it's 30 years old. So over the last 10 years or so, there's stuff that needs to be fixed. And so I needed to get certain quarter panels. And so I've been looking online to see who's, got one where. And every so often I'll just pop up and see what I can find. And lo and behold, last night I pop up online and somebody has one for sale that the motor doesn't work, but it has a 5-speed transmission, which mine doesn't. And I was always going to do a swap over to. And it doesn't have rust anywhere that I don't. So I called him, and he wants less for the car than I can get the parts to fix the 2 panels that are rusted. Plus, I get the 5-speed, and I have basically one car that will be good and one car that will be a donor car. And so his comment was, "Okay, cool. Yeah, it's first come, first curve. So as fast as you can get here, it's yours." So
how long were the tire tracks that you left when you pulled out to go get the car?
Let me put it this way. I walked from the front room, walked into my wife, said, "Hey, there's a car. Can I buy it?" Wholeheartedly expect her to say no, and she said, "Sure." I said, "Cool." So I walked around and said, "Yeah, I'll buy it. I'll be there as soon as I can tomorrow."
Well, I hope you beat anybody else that is trying to buy it.
Yeah, we're buying. I'm not even gonna let the chance. So we are driving it'll be about 2.5 hours all said and done from where I live to where it's at.
Cool.
But worth it.
The longest I ever drove to buy a car, I drove just outside of St. Louis.
Okay.
I actually bought the car from a guy who was going to IU, and he lived on the east side of St. Louis in Illinois. And so he goes, "Well, I'll sell you my car, but I have to drive home first." So
that's a terribly inefficient transaction.
Yeah, but I ended up just riding with him. I just rode with him home and helped him pack it, carry his stuff in the house, and he handed me the keys, and I went home.
One time, so after I wrecked that first Z, I was trying to buy a second one. And so there's not a lot of them. So you kind of have to be willing to drive to get one.
Right.
So I saw one pop up in Cleveland. So I drove from Indianapolis to Cleveland, and I talked to this guy like 3 or 4 times before I went there, just getting a whole bunch of information, because that's like a 6-hour drive. So I roll in, I get to his gated community. He gives me his number to punch into the gate to get in there, and I get all the way back there, and we start talking, and he's like, "Well, it kind of doesn't actually run." And I was like, "What do you mean it doesn't actually run?" He's like, "Well, the car runs, but I somehow did something to one of the wires, and it tripped the security, so you can't actually start the car." And I'm like, I drove 6 hours for a car that doesn't run. No, it runs. It's just The security
It runs,
won't
it just
let
won't start.
Yeah, he's like, but the security thing doesn't. I'm like, no. No, that's a car that doesn't run. So I left. So that was the longest I've ever went to not get a car, but also get a car. But yes, I've been to the longest I've went to actually get a car, and I bought the car, and I came back with the car. Was like just outside of Cincinnati. It was in the Kentucky area.
All right, let's get started, man.
All right.
So our top 10 80s and 90s cartoons, and we were talking right before we went on, this was the hardest list ever.
The worst.
I mean, this is like my 6th or 7th list show, I think. And it was hard. And I didn't realize how many cartoons there were. And even now, I'm not sure I have my top 10.
And it's even like, it's not even how many cartoons there were. It's like how many cartoons you realize that you liked.
Yeah, how many good cartoons there were.
Or some aren't even that good, but they're so nostalgic that you have to fight yourself. Where you're
right.
Oh, I got to put this on the list. Oh,
and
but
now,
the cartoon sucks, actually.
I
just watch it every Saturday morning at 9.
Because there's a couple of them that I could remember. Hey, now, hold on, I got to put this up. Tish Respondic said, shouldn't you be discussing 60s cartoons? I'm not that old. I wasn't born until the 70s.
That's like twice the age I am to even go back
that
far.
You know, and that was something that I thought when I was going through this, I wondered how different our list would be because of our difference in age. I don't know exactly how old you are. I just
36.
assumed. Okay, that was about what I thought. I would have guessed 35. So I'm 9 years older than you.
Okay.
And so I wonder how much of my list is going to be skewed into the 80s and how much is yours is going to be skewed into the 90s.
I will say, without giving things away, it is skewed a bit more into the 90s. I definitely have some 80s mixed in there for sure, but it's definitely skewed into the 90s. But I will say that we talked about this ahead of time, that my list, I finally got it down to like 20 or so. And then I was like, oh no, I got to cut some more. And I couldn't figure out what to cut. Some of those that cut were heavier into the 80s, simply because some of them were like, I didn't watch that as much.
So here's my criteria. So if the cartoon aired during the 80s or the 90s, I counted it. And it had to be a cartoon because there was a couple like kind of kid shows that I kind of wanted to include, but I was like, no, I can't do that. It needs to be a cartoon.
Right.
So that was my criteria. And then some of these, like you said, are just nostalgic periods, and some of them are, I don't know, a couple of them, some people are going like, what? I can't believe you included that. But anyway, and you also have to remember, the other thing you have to remember is I have younger siblings. So some of these cartoons I watched as the older sibling
that makes
while
sense.
they watched them.
So you're still maybe into the 90s area?
A little bit.
A little bit, okay.
So let's start with number. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? I always give my guest that option.
You can go first.
Okay. My number 10 is Inspector Gadget. And that is 100% nostalgic choice.
So, none of mine are in order. I think I mentioned this before, because once I put them in order, I get to the bottom and be like, I got to rank like the last 5, or I got to rank the top 5. So none of mine are in order. But one of mine is also Inspector Gadget.
Yes.
And
Megan Grimm's calling me out here. She said, I call bullcrap on that. You watched because you wanted to. Hey, this is my story, and I'm sticking to it now.
I remember waking up to watch Inspector Gadget because it was on too late for me for my bedtime, and so my parents would VCR it, and then I would be able to watch it on Saturdays. And like
it came on late where you were at.
Yeah,
that's something else we should say. You grew up in Ohio.
Yeah. And
of course, I grew up here in Indiana.
Yeah, so you were on Central technically on some time.
During the summer, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but Inspector Gadget came on for me right after school. So I came home, and I was like, first thing I did was turn on the TV, and Inspector Gadget was on.
Yeah, it would come on. So I think when I was super younger and watching it, it was too late. And I think when I was older, it was coming on right like when we were driving back from T-ball. So I wasn't at home to actually watch it. So they would always just record it for me.
Yeah.
I'm trying. It was either that one or another one that will pop up later, and I can't remember which one it was.
Right.
So that does give it away that there's another Nickelodeon show on on this list.
Okay, now this next one is hilarious, but I have to include it because I had to watch it every Saturday morning. Number 9, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. I was so into wrestling when I was young, man. I mean, up until I was probably, I don't know, 12 or 13, I loved wrestling. I was all about Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper and all those guys. I mean, I loved it. And so I watched every time wrestling was on TV. So I had to watch the cartoon. They put out this really terrible album at one point. I had to have it. Oh my gosh. Cassie Ochoa said, had to? Yes, had to. I had to.
And I had the little, at its finest.
I had the little, like the ring that you bought with the little rubber, like wrestlers that you could wrestle and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was all about that.
I remember I got a Kevin Hart. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Kevin, the Hitman.
Yeah. So I didn't watch wrestling because I didn't want to admit to all my friends that I thought wrestling was super stupid, but they were all super into it. So I got one of them, but I didn't know actually any of his moves. And so one day we brought it over to my friend's house, and I got it out, and we're like playing. And they're like, "All right, do his move," and I'm like. I'm like, I don't know the move. I don't know what to do.
Bret Hart. That's right. Bret the Hitman Hart. That's who it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Shannon Johnson fixed that. Yeah.
So, but I remember just getting like outed in front of all 5 of my friends. Like, you don't know what his thing does. I'm like, yeah, I just forget it's on. He's like, no, you don't. You don't forget. Yeah, I don't watch it. Also, my parents wouldn't let me watch it. To be fair, but I also thought it was dumb. But they wouldn't let me watch it either.
I loved it. So give me another one of yours.
All right.
Oh, so, Megan. My friend Megan said this is why you didn't have a girlfriend. That and many, many other reasons. First of all, it's right here in front of you on the screen.
Yes. Ditto. Same here, if you could see. So this one I'm sure is going to be on your list, and if it's not, I'm going to be blown away. But we talked a little bit ahead of time too. One of our discussions went around like, was the cartoon actually good, or was it one of those like super nostalgic things?
Right.
And so like, this is a both, because to me, I sat down and was like, all right, if the cartoon's just nostalgic, I can't say it was one of the best. It just meant something to me. This one, however, meant something to me, and it was the best, because every day my dad would wake me up for school and would pick me up, because he could easily do that, because I graduated high school like 100 pounds, so you can imagine how much I weighed in like 4th grade. It was not that hard. He'd pick me up, he'd bring me out to the couch, he'd have a bowl of cereal for me, and I would spend the entire morning for about a good 30-40 minutes waking up to G.I. Joes. And like, I remember thinking at one point, like, I bet that show was just really terrible, but I was young and didn't know it was dumb, kind of thing. And I went and watched it. I'm like, no, that show's baller. Nobody can aim, but that show was baller. Also, nobody ever gets hit. I don't know if I never noticed that before. No one ever gets hit in that show, ever.
I had that on and I took it off, and I had it on and I took it off, and it eventually did not make the cut. I didn't really watch it that much.
I watched it all the time, like every day before school. I watched that because it was on at like 6 o'clock on some random TV channel we had.
Why are you booing, Shannon? What are you booing me for? He said boo on the thing. I don't know why. All right.
Well, that's rude.
My next one. See, these early ones are like my... It seems like as I go on, it says I get older, kind of. And my next one, this one is just a nostalgic one that I always loved as a kid. And my number 8 is Tom and Jerry. I love Tom and Jerry. Yep. I was like addicted to that cartoon when I was real little. Like real little.
You know what's weird? My daughter likes watching Tom and Jerry. And she's
Really?
older. So it must be transverse. Yeah, it's on Boomerang.
Huh.
It's also on like Cartoon Network at a super weird hour.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you can definitely still watch it. I will say it is a mixture of like Tom and Jerry and like some of the Looney Tunes, but it's mostly Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, I really like it. Just always cracked me up.
Shoot, man, you made me think of a cartoon I didn't think about. I have to do an honorable mention at the end.
That's fine.
All of a sudden, when you said that, I thought about a show that I saw pop up and like, forgot about that. All right.
I've done that like, since we talked about doing that, I have done that like almost every day. Oh, what about, and.
Yeah. So some of these shows made my list and I watched them just out of like kicks and giggles. And I was like, oh no, that's a no. That show's coming off the list. That show is awful. Why did I think that was even good? Yeah, we've been watching a lot of old cartoons and old Nickelodeon shows like Pete and Pete. Somehow I ended up on Pete and Pete. That's a weird
My
show.
favorite all-time Nickelodeon show is You Can't Do That on Television.
Oh, okay. So
I love that show.
I remember the graphic for that always popping up. That was the dude where his head would open up, right?
Yeah.
And he'd spin around. I never actually watched the show because I'm pretty sure I was just too young to get it. But I remember seeing that graphic. But I haven't heard anybody mention that name in years.
I love that show. It was definitely must-see TV for me. It was great. I tried to find it like to show my kids, and I can't even find it like on YouTube except for a clip here or there.
If you go, Nickelodeon has all their old Nickelodeon shows. It's on Pluto. Yeah, because like we've been watching Clarissa Explains It All and a bunch of that stuff.
I like that show too.
Up on there at times.
That was because I thought Melissa Joan Hart was cute.
It's always funny now because you go back and watch some of it, and I'm like, I used to think that the dude that she's with on there, I forget his name.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Super old to me, and then I go back and I'm like, he looks like he's 5. Like, why did I think he looked so
right? Yeah, Michael Brown said that's where Alanis Morissette got her start, and that is correct. Very young Alanis Morissette was on that show.
For real?
Yeah.
Never knew that.
Yeah, because she was on real long, but she was pretty prominent when she was on, and then all of a sudden when she became a singer, like she got popular,
right?
And I was like, wait, is it that Alanis Morissette? And she was way different. Way different.
I always thought the guy that played Ferguson was the guy that was later on played the dude in Modern Family, and that is not him at all. That was like apparently I just believed that for years. I don't know why.
That's
but
funny.
It looks just like him, but it's not him. He basically quit acting after that. Just got fired.
It does look like him. I never even thought about that.
It looks exactly like him. That's why I was like, oh, he just grew up and that's what he does.
Yeah. All right, we ready for my number 7?
Yep.
All right, now this is one that's probably going to get me in trouble with people, but I couldn't not include it because... Okay. And this is one that... oh my gosh, this is where my ADHD gets me. Michael Brown just said Morgan Freeman got his start on the electric company. And I did not realize that until just this second. And when you said that, I was like, oh my goodness, that was Morgan Freeman. Anyway, sorry. All right, this is the one that's going to get me kind of... I don't know. I'm almost embarrassed to admit it, but I'm going to.
Go on.
Number 7 is Muppet Babies.
Go on.
I started watching it because my sister liked it. But then I started liking it.
So does my 4-year-old.
Part of it is my favorite Muppet is Animal for obvious reasons.
Of course.
And for some reason, Baby Animal just cracked me up. And every time I think about Muppet Babies, I think about Baby Animal, and he just cracked me up. That really is, and it's a 100% nostalgia thing. This is one of those cartoons where I tried to show my girls when they were younger. Yeah, you got to watch this. Is a great cartoon, and then I'm sitting there watching it, and I was like, this is terrible. Why did I ever watch this?
So they have a new version of that just came out like a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, it's all the same people minus there's a new character added, and so awesome. So I showed Maddie the old Muppet Babies, and she kind of gave me this look and was like, new. And I was like, no, honey, this is better.
What's this, man?
Yeah, this is better. Trust me. I assure you, this is better. So I'll go ahead.
So Michael Brown's my uncle, and he gave me a blah ha ha ha, and then Megan Grimm said she saw the resemblance with Baby Animal, and I will take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. And then Tish Respondek said that Tyson Priest watched it too.
That doesn't surprise me.
So shoot me one of yours.
Okay, so I'll give you one of mine that I feel like this counts, but I also don't know for sure that it does, because I didn't like this show in the 90s. And then I found it later, and I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I like this show? Rocko's Modern Life.
Ah, yeah. See, that was one I never got into, too.
I found it again, like, right as I graduated high school, because it started coming back on, like, replays at Nick at Night. And so, I don't know if I was just, like, wasn't old enough to catch some of the, like, dry humor in it.
Yeah.
But I watched it a lot because it was sandwiched in between. I don't remember what shows it was, but I was sandwiched in between them. And I remember being like, eh. And then later on, I watched it. And actually now I watch it all the time. Like, Netflix has a reboot of it that they just debuted, like, last summer.
Interesting.
So it counts and it doesn't count, but it kind of counts. So I'm going with it.
Works for me.
I'm sticking to it.
All right, my number 6. I'm getting more into the ones that are like I would watch again.
Right.
You know, and this is Thundercats.
Yeah, I never got into it.
I had it. I liked it. I had a bunch of little action figures. It was one of my favorites for sure. When I was pretty young, you could find me running around the neighborhood yelling "Thundercats!" ho a lot.
And what he's not telling people is his parents got him a suit from the Cats musical, and he would just put it on and then put a shiny metallic vest over it. That's why people in the neighborhood didn't want to play with you.
That's it. Megan, that's another reason why I didn't have a girlfriend.
The truth comes out during the cartoon episodes.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know why I never got into that show. Because, like, one of the shows that's coming up that I'm going to say is, like, essentially not the same thing, because I know you would come to the screen and punch me, but it's in that same realm, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I just never got into it. I never could do it. I don't know why. Still can't either. I tried it a while ago, thinking maybe I was just, like, too young, because that was like the late 80s, and I'd have been like 6 or 7 at that point.
Yeah.
Fair.
So give me another one of yours.
So I'll actually go right. Like I said, these aren't in any order because I legitimately just couldn't come up with an order. But What I will say then is the show that's similar to that in terms of genre that I super got into is He-Man.
That's my number 5.
Yeah, like
number
totally,
5. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Sci-fi-ish. So it wasn't like I thought maybe it was just because I don't like the sci-fi genre because I really never have. But He-Man is just as sci-fi as that is.
And also, those of you who know Richard Harvey and have watched his live stream, Richard Harvey After Dark, I'm going to be on his show in a couple weeks talking about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. More specifically, talking about the little action figures and a snack. So that'll be cool. But I had all kinds of these, man. I had He-Man, and I had Battle Cat, and I had the big Castle Grayskull, and
yep.
I had Gosh, I probably had 20 of the action figures.
I had this bootleg version of Castle Grayskull. That
The knockoff.
it was so knockoff too, because like Castle Grayskull is like a skull, right?
Right.
Okay, so this one, if you were to take a skull, but give it to a 6-year-old and describe to him what a skull looks like, and then have him draw that, and then they molded that into a plastic castle, that's what it looked like. It was so bad that none of my friends even, like, I remember I had a bunch of friends over one time, we were playing it, and my one friend's like, "What's that?" I was like, "It's Castle Grayskull." He's like, "No, it's not." It was so bad looking that you couldn't even fool like 8 or 9-year-olds.
No, Brian Coriel says Man at Arms. Yep, I had Man at Arms. One of my favorites, though, Man at Arms, Skeletor. I had Ram Man, which was one of my favorite. He wasn't my favorite character on the show, but he was my favorite action figure because you could you pushed him down.
Yep.
And then it was had a spring, and you hit a button, and he would shoot forward.
Yep.
I like that. It was cool.
I think that had a lot to do. I mean, we haven't really talked about this much, but it was a big part of 90s and 80s cartoons. It was the only reason for the 80s and 90s cartoons for the most part.
Right.
Was
they were pretty much half-hour long commercials.
Peddling for you to buy things from them.
Right.
But I think part of the G.I. Joe thing too was I love G.I. Joes, and the show matched up with the figurine, so you weren't trying to pretend stuff.
Right.
You could actually have the figurine with you, and it just felt super connected to the show.
Yeah.
And I feel like the same thing with He-Man. Even though I had a bootleg Castle Grayskull that I'm pretty sure my mom said she bought from Hills.
Oh yeah, Brian Coriel said my brother had one that stunk, and it was a skunk. I remember that one. What was the name of that one? He had a funny name. I gotta search for that.
Just let him over. No, you're gonna have to go, hon.
The Perils of Driving. Stinkor. Yeah. Stinkor was his name.
Stinkor?
Yeah, they weren't very creative when they came up with their names.
No, not so much. not so much.
He was the evil master of odors.
The evil master of odors.
There's a website here where they say he still smells bad. They have an action figure and it still smells bad 30 years later.
Yeah, there's I don't remember what the series was. It was some off-run thing. It didn't get really big. But I was watching an episode of The Toys That Made Us or whatever. If you haven't seen that before, it's pretty fantastic. It's on Netflix. But they referenced some old line. And so anyways, I was online looking for something. And it was one of the reasons that line failed was they were trying to add almost scratch and sniff stuff was huge in the 80s and 90s. So they added this additive to the plastic. Well, the additive by itself has a particular smell, but when you add it to the plastic, after a period of time, it has a chemical reaction and smells putrid. But they didn't know that until they had made it, cast it, molded it, put it in the packaging. So people were getting home after buying it and opening it up and basically gagging. So they had to recall the thing off of it.
Wow. Donnie Teeter said my mom spoiled me rotten with the action figures. It was actually my grandmother. But yes, she did. Megan said, pretty sure Jill say that about me. Ah, funny. Brian Coriel mentioned Orko. Oh yeah, I forgot about Orko. His little action figure was cool too. It had a little pull. I don't know how to describe it. It had a gear thing inside. You inserted this little thing and then you pulled it out, and then it made it spin, and he would run around in a circle. It was really,
cool.
It was.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. So I kind of cheated and did another one because I stole your He-Man. So do you want to give us another one of yours?
That's fantastic.
It'd be great if you did my next one too again.
I got to think here real quick on which order I should do something. Well, no, I'm gonna go this. We'll see if you grab one of mine. I'll be nice. Okay. I think I'm almost positive we're gonna end up sharing one in a moment. We'll find out. Doug.
Plastic pull cord, yeah, it was.
I was
trying to buy him.
I still love Doug. I watch Doug all the time.
I watched it, but it definitely wasn't a must-watch one for me. It was okay.
Not?
No. I did watch it, but I didn't really think about putting it on the list.
It always blows me away on how many of those cartoons were actually 2 or 3 seasons long, but felt like
Oh
Like
yeah.
they've been on for years, and like Doug's one of those where it was only like 3 seasons long.
And I think I was getting a little bit too old for it at that point.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
makes
part of it.
sense. That makes sense though, because I was around like coming into high school, I think, when that started to get big, or not in high school, coming into middle school, and that's kind of what it seemed to be based around. What? You're crazy. Doug was amazing. You have terrible taste in cartoons. I don't even know what your cartoons are.
All right, so go ahead.
I was gonna say it must be your age, but then that's opening a can of worms that I'm not ready to walk into, because I'm not gonna ask how. Yeah, I started walking into it. Next, go on.
All right, my number 4 is Transformers.
All right, you stole one from me.
CI, yeah. Oh, that was. See, now that we're getting into from about 5 on.
Yep.
These really could be in any order.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty much a crapshoot, and I think I did it more for shock value, the order I did them in, than anything else.
Some might call clickbait.
Maybe.
Shock value, the streaming version of clickbait.
But I absolutely love Transformers.
Yes, agreed. I don't think I've ever met anybody who's legitimately been able to tell me with a straight face they didn't enjoy Transformers. Not the movies, I get that, but like
see now
80s cartoons.
The first movie I was excited about, but it was pure nostalgia. And you know, the first time Optimus Prime transforms and they played the noise, you know, the his sound, I just about like lost it. and that they had the same voice. I mean, that they could have almost done anything else in that movie and I wouldn't have cared, because that made it worth it for me, you know?
Yep.
It was like, oh, here's Optimus Prime. It's, you know, it's all the same. But I didn't really like any of the other ones, and I don't even think I saw the last one.
I have not seen them since the first one. I thought was cool, and part of it might have been nostalgia. Part of it was like, you know, it wasn't bad. And then after that, it was just like, hey, if we just put Transformers on it and make it, people will watch it and make us money. Why are we even trying to make this make sense? And so they lost me there. So I definitely have to watch the last 2, I think. Yeah, it's been a bit. I haven't seen most of them. But yeah, Transformers, 100%. Same thing. I think a lot of it has to do with the action figure. Like, it just ties in, like, a different part of your life with it, too.
You know,
I had a ton of action figures.
Michael kind of makes a good point here. He says, which version of Transformers? There were 2. I only know the one. I mean, I know of the second one, but it was on when I was a kid, and it was it almost kind of had an anime look to it, sort of.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's because it was originally, like, I think if I remember correctly, it was based off of an anime, and they kind of, I won't use the word stole it, but from what I understand, stole it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorites. I didn't have very many of their action figures. I know I had Optimus Prime and I had Megatron.
Yep.
And I may have had like one other one, but I don't remember. Oh yeah, I had what's the one, the cassette player? Soundwave? Soundwave.
Yes.
Is it Soundwave?
Yes.
I gotta look and make sure I got that right.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, it was. Okay.
I remember my mom hit like the proverbial jackpot. She went to a garage sale one time, and like I had just started getting into Transformers, and she brought in this box, and I don't know what the backstory was, how it happened, but somebody had basically put all of this kid's Transformers for sale in a box for like $3.
Wow.
So I'm guessing I must have got in trouble or something, because that obviously at the time they were still super hot. So I had a ton of Transformers, and all my friends made it like, "Wow, your mom spent so much money," and I'm like,
"No, not really."
I didn't tell them my mom spent like I literally think it was like $3 for the entire box. Yeah, she could buy me a better castle, but she tore it up on the Transformers.
Yeah, Starscream. I like Starscream too,
Yep.
although he was kind of a whiner.
Yep.
All right,
I won't lie.
what?
I think I liked most of the Decepticons better as like action figures
Yeah,
than I did the
well,
Autobots.
they had cooler stuff.
Totally cool. Like what? Me driving around a semi truck, or me driving around a freaking tank or an F-16. Like,
Right.
come on! I want a tank or F-16. In the show, I wanted the Autobots to win, but 100% when we were playing, I was a Decepticon.
For real. Yeah, they were definitely cooler.
Way cooler.
So give me another one of yours.
All right, so this is one we'll probably share, I feel. These
Okay.
were the two that I was waiting to hear. I'll be surprised this isn't on it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's the one I took off right before we went on.
You shut your mouth when you talk.
I'm not kidding.
How?
You know, I liked it, and I got, I was kind of into them, but not as much as some of these other ones. You see, I'm going to take a totally different turn after this one, after the Transformers.
Oh, now
at least for a couple.
I'm interested now at what you mean by a total different turn.
Because there's two of them I still watch, not regularly,
Okay.
but sometimes. And they had to be on here, and they had to be close to the top because I'm still watching them.
Yeah, no, I had so many Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures. That was, I would say, if there was one series I was super, super into outside of G.I. Joe's, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had the attachment you could put on a Michelangelo to fly those plastic discs that looked like pizzas at people. I had Shredder's ring. I had everything. It was ridiculous. I remember shoveling. So where I grew up, we lived beside my great grandparents. We took care of them pretty often, and so we stayed there until my grandparents ended up passing away, and then we moved away. But they owned this block before it turned into a city block, so there was a huge barn on it because it used to be a farm. So it's the most out of place block in this entire development. But everything around us was a development, and a really bad development at that. So like our block looked like this picturesque country place, and everything else looked like, well, a really bad area of town. So I was never able to leave my block. So I always, quote unquote, shoveled people's driveways during the winter for money to buy this stuff, but I wasn't allowed to leave my block. So I basically just shoveled all my family's houses that were on this block. And every dime that I bid, every time was going to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I would pick it out in the Toys R Us ad ahead of time and be like, all right, I just need $19. That's all I need to make. And I remember, like, even the last house, just to make sure that I would get the money, I'd be like, how much did it cost, Rick? Is it $5? Nope, I need $3. Just give me $3. We're good. I was not very good at business back then.
We Bears. What is that? Oh, yeah. What is that?
You mean Care Bears?
Yeah, I know that. I don't know what.
I hope We Bears. That sounds like a real weird show. I don't really want to watch.
Yeah, no kidding. Is that like After Hours, Michael?
On Cartoon Network, it was the original Adult Swim.
That was it. All right, so here's my different. We're taking a little turn here.
Okay.
Number 3 is The Simpsons.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I get that.
And it's still on. I don't watch it I actually don't watch it very often, but if it's on and I'm watching TV, I'll watch it. And it's on Hulu now, so I've watched some on Hulu. And
on Disney Plus.
See, and I really like. I love like satire kind of shows.
Yeah.
And this just fits right in. Michael Brown said We Bears is newer. It's on Cartoon Network. Is it on Adult Swim? That's what we want to know. But anyway, The Simpsons is just one of those shows where if you just watch it for the comedy, it's good. But if you pick up all the little like jabs at society, it just cranks it up to 100 to me. I mean, it makes it so awesome to me in general. I mean, it's and my next one is going to be a very similar thing too. but I love the kind of biting humor and the even when it's something that kind of pokes at me, I still find it hilarious, you know. And they do poke at stuff that pokes at me a lot. But anyway, do you ever watch The Simpsons? Was that ever a show you liked or got into? Oh, I'm afraid I might have lost Ricky. He might have driven through a dead zone or something. Um. Anyway, I'll just go on then. Maybe he'll be able to jump back in. My number two. Yep, he totally dropped off now. Hopefully he'll come back soon. Anyway. Oh, he's back. He's back. Can you hear me? Let's take that as a no. Michael Brown says it comes across really innocent, but as an adult, yeah, no. Panda has a love pillow. I don't even want to know what that means, Michael. I don't want to know what that means. Ricky, are you there? Oh, I guess that's a no. All right, I'm going to go on then. Hopefully he'll be able to jump in. So number 3 is The Simpsons. Simpsons. I can't say that today for some reason. What is up with that? Number 2, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, especially from a certain segment of my friends. Number 2 is South Park. I absolutely love South Park. And I'm kind of sad that Ricky is gone because I wanted his take on that. But it is just fantastic. Hey, you're there. I can hear your road noise.
I hit mute, and then it wouldn't let me unmute. No matter what I hit, it just was like, you're not unmuting.
What kind of phone do you have, Ricky?
You shut up. That's called sabotage. You're drawing me in. So, The Simpsons,
yep.
I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons at all. Ever. So, which I made it sound like I was super upset about, but
right.
I never really got The Simpsons. I don't know why. It never really clicked with me. So even when I would go to other people's houses and watch it, I was like, yeah, I'm okay not watching it. I tried to watch it a while ago and still never clicked.
See, when I was younger, I didn't really get it either.
Right.
But as I got older and I started seeing, this is what I was saying when you were dropping out,
right.
was it just has this kind of biting satire that's just always there. It's just under the surface, and all of a sudden it just kind of pokes its head out every once in a while, and it just kills me. I mean, and that's the kind of humor and stuff that I really like. And I mean, just all of a sudden there'll just be this little. It's like the little one-off jokes where Homer will make a little statement, or where my favorite episode, and this is for obvious reasons. Homer decides he's going to make a computer company because everybody's getting rich on the internet, and so he's going to start his own computer company. So he sets up a table in his living room, and he puts out like a little nameplate and some pens and stuff, and he just sits there. He's like, "Okay, I started my computer company," and then and he's like, and everybody's like, "Well, what do you do?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. I just started a computer company like everybody else is." And then at the end, Bill Gates comes in. And Bill Gates says, "Hey, I heard about your new computer company. I can't have any competition. I'm here to buy you out." And so Homer's all excited. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting bought out by Bill Gates. I'm going to be rich. I'm getting bought out by Bill Gates." So all of a sudden, Bill Gates shows up with like these thugs, and they take his table and they flip it over and they like throw his pens and stuff he put on his desk around. And he goes, and then Bill Gates, he's starting to walk out and he turns around and he goes, "You've been bought out. You don't think I became rich by actually giving people money, do you?" And walks out. It's fantastic.
It's so apropos for the Senate hearing they just went through too.
No, right? But it's great. So go ahead and give me another one, and then I already revealed my number 2 as you were gone. But give me another one, then I'll go back to number 2.
So yours. South Park is my honorable mention that I fought back and forth on nonstop, trying to decide whether I wanted to include it or not. And the only reason I didn't is because I really didn't start watching it until I was later. So, like, while it is technically a 90s cartoon, I did not start watching it until I probably got into college. So it does not have that like feel to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it came out in the very, very late 90s, so it just squeaked in.
So like that one, I will say you didn't steal one from me, but that one like sat on the 11, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11. So one of mine, and this is going to be, I'm almost positive no one watches this show. Like, because every time I mention this show, everyone's like, yeah, I've never heard of that show. If you watch Cartoon Network, you watch the Adult Swim, there was a show on there called Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite shows is not Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Oh. It was all right. He kind of annoyed me. But the Brack Show.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
So, on Space Ghost, they had a guy that would come on every once in a while and did like a little like bit. And then later on, they decided to make a show spin-off just about him. And the show is probably the dumbest thing I've ever watched, like most late-night Cartoon Network cartoons.
Yeah. Yet
I still love the show to death. I don't know why. But the Brack Show, and even to an extent, Space Ghost Coast to Coast will make its... but Aqua Team Hunger Force pulls in there, too. That was an honorable mention. That really was hard.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of those, really. I mean, I watched a little bit of Space Ghost Coast to Coast just if it was on.
Right.
And I watched it, but it wasn't must-see TV for me at all.
Right.
But South Park, on the other hand, the first 2 seasons, I watched it religiously, and then I kind of went through this phase where I never watched any TV, and then I kind of came back to it later. And I've been watching them again lately since it's on Hulu, right. Or it was. Now it's on HBO Max. But I like it for the exact same reason why I like The Simpsons, is because they are it's satire. I mean, it's 100% making fun of society.
Yep.
They just take it to a whole nother level.
They do, and they are ruthless towards everybody and everything, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's nothing is sacred to South Park at all, and it's great.
The place my dad used to work, they had a plant in Lima. He was a plant manager of that one. And they had a plant in LA. And so like once or twice a year, he'd have to fly out from Lima to LA and then attend kind of like a board of directors meeting while they kind of talked about different stuff. Well, he came home at this point. I'm in middle school. And that's when South Park comes out. And he's like, hey, have you heard of this show called South Park? And I was like, no. Yes, but I'm not going to say yes because I don't know where this is going. I was like, no. And he's like, oh. He's like, well, the building that the headquarters for Sirico shares the building with this animation studio. And he was saying how all these celebrities keep coming in the door to this headquarters of the place he works because they thought that it was the suite where this show's at. And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's called South Park or something. But he's like, I was there and Danny Glover showed up. And he's like, I thought it was the weirdest thing in the world. And so anyways, later on, I was telling my friends, like, dude, the place where South Park is made is part of my dad's office building.
That's awesome.
That's what I said. So my dad got to meet Danny Glover for a moment.
That's cool.
He was super confused and running late, I guess. But I guess it was really confusing because the animation studio was in the back half of that, so anyone who pulled in the parking lot just assumed that you went in the front door. And he's like, no, you have to walk around the back of the building, and it's back there. Which obviously goes to show how low production South Park was when it started out.
Oh, yeah. My favorite episode of that is there's this effort which is kind of apropos for today a little bit, but there's this effort to change the South Park flag because it shows people lynching someone.
Oh, yes.
And the kids can't figure out why it's so bad.
Right.
And I won't spoil the end because it has a kind of a twist at the end.
As they all do.
But it's such a, again, it's total satire on society.
Yep.
And it's great.
I think my favorite, and this is going to be the dumbest favorite episode. Oh, that's a lie. There's 2 favorite episodes. Fine, one's more nostalgic, one's favorite. The Man Bear Pig.
Yeah.
One of my nostalgic favorites, just because I don't know, we use that so much. But I think my favorite is because at that time, so many of my friends were playing World of Warcraft. That
Yeah.
when they did the episode series of the World of Warcraft, like
Yeah.
it was so ironically close to what and how things actually operated that I could not stop laughing about it.
I know.
Like when
They're
I
so
started
good
dating my
at.
wife, I never met her sister for like 3 months because her sister was holed up in her room playing World of Warcraft. And then when I did meet her sister, I found out we were in the same class at Ohio State together, but I had no idea because I'd never actually seen her leave her room.
Because she was playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Something I never got into.
I purposely avoided it because
Yeah.
I would easily get like sucked into games like Tribes, and Tribes 2 was big at that point, and Half-Life. And I was like, if I start World of Warcraft, I'm not going to graduate college. I know that. I know how this ends.
Right. All right. I've lost track since I did like 2 in a row where you're at. How many do you have left?
I have 2 left.
Okay.
All right. So, this one, when I say it barely squeaks into the 1990s, I'm legitimately saying I had to go look it up to make sure, and it did. It debuted on November 30th of 1999, so it is a 90s cartoon, but I still watch this thing today. Like, I'll go back up to Disney Plus and watch the crap out of this show.
What is it?
Recess.
Recess.
Yes.
I think I've seen it like once or twice. It was definitely out of my... I was not into cartoons at the time.
Yeah, that one is such a weird cartoon, too, because there's no attempt to sell merchandise, so it has no, like, I don't know, I just loved that show. I don't know what it was about it. I couldn't even tell you why I liked it, or why it was one of my favorites.
That's the one that had the kid with the red hat that was on backwards, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure we're talking about the right one.
Yep, that's
well,
it.
you made Megan Grimm very happy.
That show is fantastic. And it
me
really
too, Tish. Me too.
Because it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But so think about this, ready? Disney owns all of it.
Right.
They have Disney Plus, which you would think they would put all of the seasons on. But no, you can only see seasons 1, 2, and 3. And 4, 5, and 6 they say will come out sometime later.
That's weird. I wonder if they have some weird like
I would almost guarantee it has to be some sort of licensing thing where they can't use it just yet.
Like a song or something like that.
So I know you say you already had a kid at that point, but you can't tell me you didn't watch it. Like you were like, oh, hey, let's turn this on. I know you really want to watch it, but deep down inside, you were the one that wanted to watch it. Like I won't lie, I totally do that with some of Maddie's cartoons right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I did that when the kids were little. But see, that was Faith would have been 2 or 3 at that point when it started.
Okay.
So she was probably too young for that one.
Yeah, for sure.
But I had
with Puppy Dog Pals.
I had a few guilty pleasures when my girls were young that I would watch with them.
Guilty pleasure ones, that you said?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll use my very last one then.
Okay.
So my last one, and my wife hates this show, hates this so much. Ren and Stimpy.
I didn't watch it a lot, but I did watch it some. My little sister had a friend who was really into that show, so they would kind of watch it together, and I'd watch it with them if I was around.
Right.
But yeah, it was funny. I can see why it would be on your list.
And I think it was like one of those. Wait, what does that mean?
No, I'm
that's an idea. I think it was one of those things that it came out at like the perfect time. That like every like middle school boy thinks that anything that has to do with farts and wieners is hilarious, and that's pretty much all that show was.
Right.
Yeah, I probably wasn't allowed to watch it, but for some, my parents were super weird about what I wasn't and what I was and wasn't not allowed to watch was Simpsons and South Park, basically. They actually really never said I couldn't, but never said I could. But everything else, they were like, "Meh."
Yeah.
So somehow I got away with Ren and Stimpy, which actually, watching it now, I have no idea how I got away with Ren and Stimpy.
Well, my number one, it had to be number one. I couldn't pick anything else because to me, it's like it's the like granddaddy of all cartoons.
The granddaddy.
Like,
what did I miss?
Like, this is when I think of cartoons as a kid, this is the very first thing that comes to mind every time. And to me, it's like, I don't know. And that's Looney Tunes.
Okay, I get you. That makes sense.
And I think I just realized that I spelled it wrong. Because I think it's Toons.
It is.
I gotta look now. Yep. I spelled it wrong. I ruined it.
It made such an impression on you, you can't remember how to spell it.
No, it's right. I spelled it right. I did spell it right. It's
Oh, you
T-U.
did?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, see,
Yeah,
now I
that's-
look like a jerk.
No, Tiny Toons.
Oh, Tiny Toons. That's right. We watch Tiny Toons now.
It's probably just said better be Flintstones. I considered the Flintstones, and that probably should have been on here somewhere. It's one that was in my head, and it just never happened. But Bugs Bunny's just got to be the top. It's just got to be. Because he just kills me.
Yeah, I get that. I get that for sure. Because I would definitely have to say, like, even right now, I will totally sit down with Maddie and watch some Looney Tunes.
Michael
And
Brown said
enjoy
no
it.
Animaniacs. Animaniacs were okay. I didn't really watch it a
I
lot.
forgot about Animaniacs.
See, it just wasn't in my top 10.
No, shoot.
He loves
I have to redo my top 10
Let's start over.
because I missed one. I just realized I missed one that I didn't miss, but I kind of thought that it wasn't as big of a deal, and now it is. So it's an honorable mention.
What's that?
Dragon Ball Z.
See, I never really got into those at
Oh.
all.
Super hard.
I think I got in trouble with Faith at one point because I said something about I couldn't remember whether something was Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon or whatever.
Well,
And I
that's a
was
pretty
like-
big difference.
Yeah, that's what she said. But I'm not. Those are things I never got into.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z. Crap. And even just Dragon Ball. Like,
Oh,
not
they
even
were-
Dragon Ball Z.
There were two different ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones.
All right, Michael Brown says Looney Tunes are 40s through the 60s.
Yeah, I
And-
think that's why I didn't include him in mine. Because I probably would have put Flintstones in there, realistically.
But there was
Even Scooby-Doo would have made an appearance on my list if I kind of thought of that.
I almost said, that was one I thought about was the Scooby and Shaggy show. Because not Shaggy, oh my gosh, Scooby and Scrappy show.
Scrappy, yeah, for sure.
Because that was on during that time.
Yep.
I'm going to look up Looney Tunes. Because I know it was on when I was a kid. They had a show, it was something, and maybe I should have called it specifically this. Yeah, the Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes Comedy Hour. It was on, it started in 85. So I'm counting that.
I'm counting it.
See, Michael Brown says no Beavis and Butthead. I almost put Beavis and Butthead. But
Yeah.
I felt like The Simpsons and the South Park kind of filled that genre spot for me.
Same here. Sorry. Beavis and Butthead was one of those that were in my top 20 that I just kind of fought back and forth on.
And since it was half cartoon, half music videos, I just kind of excluded it. But I did watch it, and I loved it. The Great Cornholio is one of my all-time favorite TV episodes of anything. I still quote it to this day. And
Yep.
so it's definitely one that I loved, but I just didn't have
Yeah,
it.
King of the Hill almost made it for me as well.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about King of the
Yeah,
Hill.
King of the Hill was... There's... Like, even 20 was hard for me. Like, I sat down thinking... Because when we made this up, we're like, should we do 5 or 10? I was like, oh, no. 10 was hard. I didn't realize that 20 was even actually hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Family Guy, good point. I never really thought about Family Guy.
I hate Family Guy. I absolutely
liked
hate
the
it with a
first, like,
passion.
5 or 6 seasons, and then it kind of got repetitive.
I watched probably 3 episodes of it, and I thought this is horrible, and I don't like it.
I remember watching that first season that came on Fox. Like,
Yeah.
remember it got canceled the first season. And
Yeah.
thinking that was the funniest show I've ever seen. Because it's the point where he emerges from Moses' womb. And, like, I just thought, like, what the heck did I just watch? And how amazing was it that a baby was that, like, deviant and insane? And then I watched it after they brought it back on, like, a year later. I think it came on Cartoon Network, was who bought it, or Comedy Central, one of the two. And, like, those first 3 or 4 seasons were fantastic. And then they just got super repetitive. Like, to the point where even Seth MacFarlane's like, can we please just cancel the show? Like, is that an option?
Yeah, it just was not my, I just didn't like it. It wasn't my thing. I don't know why. It just, like I said, I watched probably the first 2 or 3 episodes, or at least 2 or 3 episodes at some point during the first season and said, this isn't for me. I don't want to watch it. And I never gave it another shot.
Do you remember the, I forget, it was the girls that were in the rock band?
Jen,
Was it
was
Josie
it
and the
Jen?
Pussycat? What? Jem. That's one.
Not Jen and the.
Yeah, it wasn't Josie and the Pussycat Dolls or whatever it was called.
No, Jen. True. What is it? Yeah, it's Jim and something. Jim. I'm gonna look it up.
So, this is gonna make me sound like a terrible person.
Jim and the Holograms.
Roughly like 9 or 10 years old. But my next door neighbor loved that show. Loved it, but I hated it. I didn't want to watch it. So every time she came over, my mom was always like, well, you can watch what you want to watch, and then you have to watch a show that she wants to watch. So I convinced her that they canceled the show. And I got in so much trouble. I think I actually got a spanking for that one. I don't remember.
That's hilarious.
But that's the only reason I remember that show was A, I hated it, and B, I know I got in a whole bunch of trouble because I convinced her it was canceled and she ran home crying.
That's hilarious.
Battle of the Planet. Oh, Captain Planet. I forgot entirely about Captain Planet.
I don't even know what that is.
What? You don't know what Captain Planet is?
No.
Are you freaking kidding me? By our powers combined, we are Captain Planet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I never watched that.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I know you.
Well, it came out in 90. No, wait a minute. Take that back. Yeah. 1990 to 92.
One of my honorable mentions is one of the ones that I decided, I'm like, I still watch it today. But I don't know how much cartoon it counts. But
what is it?
A cartoon, technically. And that is the Magic School Bus.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that one.
It's so hard because it's not actually like, I battled on whether I considered it a cartoon or not. Like, it's a cartoon, but is it a cartoon? Or was it was it a clever ruse for my teachers to get me to learn stuff?
Why wouldn't it be a cartoon though?
Well, like,
it was animated.
Like in the concept of like for entertainment. Like it was like it was kind of like a I'm going to get in trouble for this, I think. I don't know. We'll find out. It's kind of like when that one video game company did, and by what I mean did literally the worst job humanly possible of taking Bible stories and making them into NES games.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, oh, so what you're doing is the clever ruse to get me to read Bible stories. But done really badly to the point I actually may not want to read them now.
Really badly.
Magic School Bus was like, oh, so you're basically trying to get me to learn about science and I'm not at school too. I don't know how I feel about this.
But it was good though.
But it was fantastic, and that's the problem.
That was a show I watched with my girls.
I still watch
especially Faith.
I will not lie.
Matter of fact,
totally
Jill used the Magic School Bus episode where she talks about like they go into the body.
Yeah.
To get Faith to take her medicine one time.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
So, if you want to know how slow the traffic on 70 is right now,
yeah,
we started this podcast and we were in Indiana. we have now gotten a good chunk into this podcast, and we are still in Indiana.
Well, we connected at 4:45, or 4:45. I mean, and it's 6 after 4 now, so it's been an hour and 20 minutes.
And we are just now. We're not even to Richmond yet.
Wow, that's
and
awful.
We were leaving the Mount Comfort exit. So like McCordsville. Basically.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's just nonstop stopping. And I still like we talked about. I have no idea what they're doing on this road. Like,
do they have like a lane? Is it a lane down?
Oh,
so many lanes down. So many
oh yeah, lanes are down everywhere. But they're not working on anything. Literally, the lanes are shut down, but there is no work on any of the lanes we've gone through so far.
That's hilarious.
Indiana,
yeah, I hate 70.
That works.
I hate 70. I hate 70 in both directions.
It's the worst.
It is.
It is the worst.
And it's such a straight, boring drive. And then when you have stuff happening on the way, it just makes it even worse.
Yep.
So, what do you have going on? Like anything you want to talk about to kind of promote while you're on here?
No, the only thing I think I want to promote, mainly because I think it's going to be super fun, on August 16th. So we have like a church in the park that happens in the morning on August 16th at Falls Park.
Yeah.
But at night, we decided, well, hold on. We've already got all of the, all of the staging and the sound equipment set up. Why don't we have just kind of fun at one point? So we're doing an actual kind of thing at night on August 16th in Falls Park at the gazebo called Ovid Rocks the Park. And so it's like 70s, 80s, and 90s greatest hits. And We're just going to kind of have fun and, be able to have a little bit of not... What? Some dude just whiffed past us on the shoulder, like splitting. Anyways. Where was I at before I was so rudely interrupted? Black Mercedes.
You were talking about...
Yeah, so it was just going to be kind of a fun night of just, not that there's a lot of normalcy, but something kind of fun that we'll be out at the park and we'll just be, having a fun time. And it's just not going to be anything too crazy. There's not really any kind of church service to it. It's just we're going to have what could not be a good karaoke. No, it'll be.
So
good.
This is at Falls Park in Pendleton. Park. Do you know how hard it is for me to say Falls Park and not Falls Perk?
Oh, I do it all the time.
Because nine times out of 10, I'm going to say Falls Perk.
Oh,
which is basically my home away from home.
I have thoroughly confused the new youth pastor on what the name of that place is, because for the longest time I kept referring to the park as Perk. So he was really super confused. Like, why would they call it Perk? I'm like, it's coffee. And then it was probably 2 weeks later, it kind of clicked, and I'm like, oh shoot, have I been calling the park Perk? Yeah, that's why I was confused. No. Yeah, my bad.
I always had to slow down. And say park and make sure I say park.
Yep.
Because Falls Park.
I'm glad I'm not the only person.
Fly right up. Yeah.
I feel like I was the only person that did that consistently.
No, you're not. So Falls Park in Pendleton.
Yeah.
August 16th. What time is it again?
O'clock.
Cool.
7 o'clock.
And it's around the gazebo.
By the gazebo. Yeah, you won't be able to miss it. I assure you.
Hey, fun fact.
A lot of staging and a lot of speakers.
Fun fact. I proposed to my wife at that gazebo.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Well, that's crazy because I'm going to sing I Only Want to Be With You by Hootie and the Blowfish. So it was like meant to be.
It was.
Do dolphins make you cry?
No. Well, Miami Dolphins sometimes.
Well, he didn't specify in the song. He just said the dolphins make me cry.
I actually think he is talking about the Miami Dolphins in the song. At least I always assumed he was.
He might be.
Anyway.
Ooh, maybe I could dress up as Ace Ventura for that one then.
That's great. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining me on here, man.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Was fun. Yeah,
I really was looking forward to this episode.
What the Michael Brown next week on Top 10 Words That Are Hard for Me to Say. I would need to be way more than top 10, man. especially depending on the day.
Like, how much time do we have? I could pull
Yeah,
out
really,
the
I know.
stories of words.
That would be a show that had to be continued after it multiple times.
For real.
Hey, we had over 100 messages today. I love it when people help. We had pretty good numbers watching too. It's been fun.
It's almost like people like 80s and 90s cartoons.
I know, right? It's insane. As I kind of mentioned a little earlier, starting next week, I'm going to have to find a new time for the live stream because I originally was supposed to be done with teaching at 1 o'clock on Fridays, but I have accepted another class on Friday afternoon, so I won't be done in time to get to the live stream, so I don't know if we'll do it. We can't do it later on Friday because of football, so I don't know when that's going to be, so be on the lookout for a new time and possibly a new day for the live stream. But be sure, if you don't like us yet on Facebook, to like our page, Rick Brown Live, or go... I just keep saying or. I'm going to say and go to YouTube and subscribe to... Go to YouTube and subscribe to the Rick Brown Live channel there. That would really help me out to get in front of some more eyeballs, so I would appreciate it. I think the more eyeballs we can get in front of, the more fun we can have. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us today. I've got to go set up for my youngest daughter's graduation open house. If you're in the area and you want to come to Mercer's Family Barn on... it's right off of 36 in front of Fall Creek Christian Church. We're going to have a ton of food. So if you want to come eat some of it, it'll be great. It's being catered by Hacienda Vieja. So it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, my wife
that
just
is
looked
what's
at
up.
me because by the time we dropped the car off in Lima, because we're keeping the car at my parents' house,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to make it back in time. And I was totally not telling her it was Hacienda. And as soon as she said that, she looked at me like...
Well, we'll be there till 4, and we'll be cleaning up for a little bit afterwards. So if you guys can't get there, and because we are going to have a ton of food, I
am getting looked so hard right now.
And we're going to have fajitas. We're going to have.
Man, will you stop it?
Michael, if you left now, you could make it. Actually, you could leave in 4 hours and make it probably.
Yeah, you can pull a John Denver and leave on a jet plane.
There you go. Actually,
no, don't do that. No, never mind.
But then he doesn't know if he'd be back again.
Yeah, he wasn't. So.
Yeah, that's true.
I've always wondered, like, that song, like, how odd of a song is that for his family? Like, when they hear it pop on, they're like, next song, please.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we're going to head out. Thanks again, Ricky, for being on with us, and thank you for...
That was great.
Those of you who participated and commented and watched, I really appreciate it. This is just so much fun to do, and you guys make it so much fun. So, what do you mean not from DFW? You moved. Oh, see, now Michael distracted me and I'm not leaving. You moved away from Dallas or the Dallas area? Didn't you, like, just move there? You're killing me, man. I got to get an answer to this.
He's just going to leave you hanging.
He is going to leave me hanging. That's the way he is. Well, I'll get the answer from him later, I guess. All right. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Yep. See you
Thanks,
guys.
Ricky.